Hi everybody, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dawn Colicchio and I'm a real estate professional in Central New Jersey. Last week, if you stopped by my channel, I did a video about home inspections and what to inspect, and more importantly, how to negotiate the home inspection issues after the fact if you're a buyer or a seller to save the deal so it doesn't actually die. I'm going to leave the link for that in case you missed it. It's packed full of information and I think it would be really helpful to you. This week, I want to talk to you about a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, and that is underground oil tanks. I know that that's really not a very sexy topic, but let me tell you, the information that I'm going to share with you today could save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So it does kind of get sexy when you think about it that way. So stay with me. Here we go. There are two main questions that I want to go over and cover with you today. One is, how do I know if there's an underground oil tank? And number two is, why is it important for me to know? The only way to know for certain if there's an underground oil tank is to have an oil tank sweep done with your home inspection. Now, this is not included typically in the price of a home inspection. It is extra. Depending upon the lot size, just usually run between $250 and $350. And let me tell you, it is well worth every penny, and here's why. I want to share with you today an example of what could happen and how, thank goodness, my clients dodged a bullet by having a tank sweep. So my clients were purchasing a house. The house, like many of them today, was a flip. The prior owner purchased it as a foreclosure and renovated it completely. The gentleman that was selling the property told us that when he purchased the property from the bank, he did perform an oil tank sweep of the property and that it revealed no tank. Whenever I have a buyer purchasing a property in any town, I always do my due diligence for them, and I go down to the town and I request an Oprah Report. And basically what that is, it's an Open Public Records Act, and that allows a potential buyer to review all the work that's been done and all the records that have been kept on that property. The Oprah Report revealed that there was never a tank pulled on the property. Okay, great. The home inspector said that he saw pipes in the basement that clearly the home at one point had oil heat. So there's a little bit of a red flag. Now most would argue, okay, so it had oil heat, it obviously was above ground. My clients and I felt that we should do another tank sweep for peace of mind and just to protect them before the property transferred to them. And I always tell my clients, you know, you have to understand, if we find something, it's the seller's problem. If you buy the property without finding it, and then you go to sell it 5-10 years down the road, and the new buyer finds it, it now becomes your problem. And that's a problem you don't want to have. It turns out that my buyer's tank sweep revealed an underground oil tank. Obviously, the seller was very upset because he had done a tank sweep. The short of the story was the seller had the responsibility of removing the tank for my buyers. So it was no cost to my buyers. Luckily, there had been no soil contamination. The seller still had his paperwork that he had a tank sweep done. So unfortunately for the tank sweep company that missed it, they were liable and they wound up paying for the removal of the tank. So do you see where I'm going here? I mean, for a $250 investment, they saved themselves a lot of headaches and what could have been thousands of dollars to remove the tank. So now I quickly want to talk about soil contamination. So what happens when a tank is removed is that the company that's going to remove the oil tank goes down to the town and applies for a permit. The company then comes and digs up the oil tank and takes it out of the ground. With that, the town inspector has to come out, inspect the hole, and inspect the tank. They're looking for any signs of holes in the tank, and they're also looking for the soil to see that if any oil had dripped into the soil. They will typically take soil samples and they're sent out to be tested to make sure that there is no contamination. If contamination is found in the soil, that has to be remediated. And to be honest with you, depending upon how deep the oil has gone into the soil and how far it has spread out, I mean, I know of one that was upwards of $40,000. I know also there are conflicting opinions on whether or not to have a tank sweep done when you're buying new construction. Well, again, you really have to do your due diligence and find out what was on the property prior to this new house that's being built. Was there a house on the property that was built in 1910 that the builder obviously knocked down? Did he do a tank sweep? You have to understand that, years ago, there might have been something on that property that had an underground oil tank. So even with new construction, you still might want to consider having a tank sweep done, like I said, for peace of mind and to protect yourself down the road. The last thing I want to touch on today is a decommissioned oil tank. Years ago, when somebody converted from oil heat to gas, the popular thing to do back then, which was totally acceptable, that they dug up the tank, they opened it, they drained it, and they filled it with sand. What they didn't do was they didn't remove it from the ground. They left it in the ground. So a lot of times, a tank sweep will reveal that there is an abandoned tank underground. Now, the jury's out on this one. A lot of sellers will take the stance, listen, I did it the way it was supposed to be done. It's filled with sand. I have all the permits, and I'm not going to remove it out of the ground. I will usually tell my buyers that's a deal breaker for me. Now, again, it's your comfort level. You have to decide for yourself, but you have no idea over the years if that tank leaked some oil. And again, like we talked about before, prior to you purchasing the property, it's the seller's problem. After you take ownership of that property, it now becomes your problem. So I really hope that all this information, even though it was kind of a boring topic, was helpful to you. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. I would love for you to join me every Wednesday. I upload new videos. Hit the bell for notifications and give me a thumbs up. And I will see you next time.